On July 26, 1970, a 45-foot humpback whale washed ashore on the Oregon coast in Florence, just south of the town's famous sand dunes. Seemed like a good spot for an epic photo op, right? Well, maybe if you were a fan of explosive photo ops, because by the time this whale carcass had run its course, it became one of the most spectacularly gross disasters in Oregon history. Officials dubbed it the exploding whale. Authorities knew that if they didn't do something about the carcass quickly, it would begin to rot and release a noxious stench. Plus, it was sitting pretty close to a popular tourist spot, so they called in the explosives team from the U.S. Army's nearby bombing range. And let me tell you, these guys knew how to blow stuff up. But first, a few words of wisdom from our pal Bill Yunt, who was there that day. He said the explosion tossed tons of blubber into the air. Now he could be a little vague with his descriptions. In fact, when the military asked him what he wanted to know, he replied, "I want to know everything. Tell me everything about your plan." The military was taken aback by his bluntness, but obliged. So we owe everything we know about this disaster to this guy. Okay, back to Bill. He said the explosion tossed tons of blubber into the air. That would be bad enough. But then he added, and when I say tons, I mean tons. Sure enough, witnesses reported that blubber rained down on onlookers in chunks that were often the size of Volkswagens. Yeah, you heard that right, Volkswagens. So why did this whale explode like that? Well, it turns out that the process of detonation was a lot more complicated than the people of Florence had anticipated. See, the initial plan was simple. They were gonna fill the whale with explosives and then remote detonate the whole thing. Easy peasy. But when the army arrived, they found that the whale's thick blubber layer made accessing its cavity nearly impossible. No big, they thought. They'd simply make several small incisions in the blubber and slip the charges through those. Simple, right? Well, as it turned out, those little cuts weren't quite small enough. The charges slid in way too easily and ended up being a lot closer to the surface than anyone anticipated. This meant that instead of a nice single explosion, they got several smaller ones. And because the charges were so close to the surface, the whale didn't explode straight up. It exploded laterally, sending blubber in all directions. In fact, it sent blubber everywhere. One witness said that it looked like a whale was doing the chicken dance. You know, the funky bird dance. Another described it like a whale was trying to fly, flapping its tail. In any case, it was less cute than gruesome. Chunks of blubber weighing hundreds of pounds flew through the air like deadly missiles, smashing through plate glass windows and metal siding, flinging themselves into trees and wrecking 5 or 6 cars, including one that flipped over. As far as the stench went, one newspaper reported that the smell wasn't half as bad as some folks had predicted, but that might have been because the rain that day washed most of the smell away. Still, another paper reported that the smell was so bad that no one could work in their yards. Even the army admitted defeat on that front. Their statement read, "Frankly, we don't give a damn if the place stinks." In the end, the exploding whale left behind a mess that was hard to clean up. The town was stuck with thousands of pounds of blubber strewn about. Cleanup crews had to haul it away in dump trucks. Meanwhile, people were left wondering what to do with all the whale meat. Some brave souls took home the meat to make oil for lamps. Others suggested rendering the fat and using it for industrial purposes. But most of it simply went to waste. Today, the only evidence of the exploding whale is a plaque near the original site, which reads, "Here lies a whale of a tale. What a time to be alive." For more explosive historical tales each week, stay tuned. Now with your host, a look at some of the biggest booms and biggest busts in history.